Welcome everyone to Get Yours Presents the podcast. I am your host, Uncle E. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, Get Yours Posse. Let a friend tell a friend and tell that friend to tell another one. Tonight, joining me all the way from Milwaukee, Kareem City, the home of the Milwaukee Bucks. I have none other than Twan Mack, man. How you doing, Twan?
I'm good, Uncle E. Good to see you, beloved.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad you had the time to take, to do this finally. We've been talking about it for a little while now. But let's get right into it, man. Let me ask you a question. I want to know, give us a little background to how it was growing up in Milwaukee as a kid. What were some of the things you experienced, and in particular also when it comes to hip hop?
Okay, well, I'm a 70s baby. So when I was born in Milwaukee, Milwaukee has always been one of the most segregated cities racially in the country. Like, we run neck and neck with places like Boston every year in terms of the division, and that's pretty much been the rule of thumb, like, forever. Like, it's not changed much. So I grew up in a neighborhood, zip code 53206, which is like the most incarcerated zip code for Black men in America per capita in the United States. So I grew up in that area. It wasn't always like that. Like in the 70s, early 80s, it wasn't like that. But it wasn't until like the crack and the guns came around, and being that we're so close to Chicago, like some of the organizational things that go on in Chicago started, they've been coming back and forth to Milwaukee. So we had a lot of dealings with Chicago too. So from that standpoint, I say around like the mid 80s, things started to shift in Milwaukee from a social economic standpoint. We had like the post-industrialism where like the factories and stuff were shutting down. That was happening all through the Midwest. I venture to say that it was happening through the country, but I definitely know that in places like Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis, Cleveland, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, it was definitely happening here in the Midwest, where post-industrialism, people were losing their jobs in factories and things like that, things that they left like the South, because just like the rest of the United States, people migrated from the South to find a better life, like post Jim Crow. So Milwaukee was right in the thick of things when it came to that. So once people started to lose their jobs, you're talking about like my grandfather, who was like a butcher by trade for the vast majority of his life, even when he like had to find new employment, things like that. It started to shift. You started to see neighborhoods change. You had white flight, people moving to the suburbs. You had an influx of guns and drugs, and the gang atmosphere started to be more prevalent. And fortunately and unfortunately for me, I was involved in stuff like that, but I was also into my academics. Like, I was a real good student, but I still came from a neighborhood where, you peer pressure, sometimes you succumb to peer pressure. You want to be around your friends, things like that. So you become involved in stuff that when you look back like years later, you're like, why did I do something like that? But fortunately for me, I'm here having this interview with Uncle E, unlike many of my friends who's doing like 60 years. Some of my friends is deceased. You know what I mean? It's the same story, city to city. Uncle E, I'm preaching to the choir. You know what I'm saying? So Milwaukee was right along with the rest of that. So from a hip hop standpoint, I moved to this tri-state area at a pretty young age. I moved to South New Jersey when I was like 9 years old. When Kool Moe Dee was God, when Melly Mel was God, when Spoonie G was God, when Lady B was Queen. You know what I mean? Like, right. I moved. It wasn't even Roxanne Shante yet. Like, Roxanne Shante wasn't thought about yet. It was still Lady B. So I lived in Shot Rock. So I lived Rock. Yeah, exactly. So I lived in South New Jersey, which where I lived at in South Jersey, we didn't root for the Nets or the Knicks or the Islanders or the Yankees or the Mets. We rooted for the Sixers and the Phillies and the Flyers and the Eagles. So that's around the Dr. J era. So I learned my hip hop in the tri-state area. Okay. Like, I learned my hip hop when, like I said, when Spoonie was the man, when Melly Mel was God, when Kool Moe Dee was spitting crazy lyrics. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about early on.
Yeah, I'm talking about like 1979, 1980, 1981. You know what I'm saying? I was still a little kid, but I was taking notice, and my mom, because I was a good student, my mom would take me to the record shop, and because I got good grades or whatever, she would just let me go crazy picking out my records. So I would pick out Feel the Heartbeat on Enjoy Records. I would pick out like Sugar Hill Gang's first record, Genius Rap by Melly Mel and them. Like I would go crazy, like buying I had my little record collection as a young boy. Eventually I did end up coming back to Kareem City. I did end up coming back to Milwaukee. And so when I came back to Milwaukee, like I said, the things that I spoke about before, the post-industrialism, when I came back, my neighborhood was now full-fledged gangbanging. Like it was full-fledged guns, and not so much the guns in the early 80s, but it was plenty drugs around, and you had to choose sides, like you wanted to represent your neighborhood or whatnot. I was one of those dudes that wanted to be like that, but I also had a heart. So yeah, in a nutshell, 70s, mid 80s, Milwaukee was fairly smooth, but once mid 80s came, like we haven't looked back, like in terms of like a lot of the decadent things that take place city to city. We got it in Milwaukee too. It's just a different dialect. It's a different hairstyle. Like out in Philly, we would rock the velour V-necks and the pleated pants and the Jack Purcells. When I came back to Milwaukee, we was rocking what y'all call the Air Force Ones. We call them Dookies out here, but we was rocking the Air Force Ones, and a lot of cats had Jerry curls, things like that. So
what do you call the Air Force Ones?
We call the Air Force One Dookies out here. They call them Dookies.
Why is that?
I don't, man. I never got to I would have to ask one of the first people that start calling them that, but that's what they call them.
Okay.
They call Air Force Ones Dookies, but
I might start rocking that out here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So when I got back to Milwaukee, I was already full-fledged into hip hop. Like I came back with records that they never heard of. I came back with Cold Crush tapes, all kinds of things like that. So they was like, who is this little young kid? And I did my first talent show when I was like 11, 12 years old and won it. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Rapping over the Genius Rap by Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So, and doing my own lyrics though, even though I did take a little bit from Crash Crew, because Crash Crew was my favorite group back then. I love the Almighty Crash back then. But so I've been full-fledged B-boy hip hopper since I was 9, 10 years old. It never changed.
But now was going back to Milwaukee at that time, I'm assuming that they probably weren't as up to speed with certain things, right? So for you experiencing what you experienced and coming back to Milwaukee, how did you, how did you keep the your hunger for hip hop? Because you were like probably one of the first ones that were bringing stuff like that back there.
Yeah.
So how did, once you were there though, how did you stay in tune, or where did you get more info from?
I mean, my people still in South Jersey to this day. I still go back. I never stopped my connection with South Jersey. I never will. You know what I'm saying? I know about Tasty Cakes, and I know about Con Edison. I know about all of that. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
I was and so like once you bit by the bug of hip hop, it's kind of like when Spider-Man got bit by that radioactive spider, it was on, right?
Right. But so you were you were really early with it though in Milwaukee, right? So I know you started, for example, you were part of the group, was it Cali Tribe?
Tribe.
Which, I mean, you guys, as far as from Milwaukee, first time on BET. I mean, that is it safe to say we can call you a pioneer?
I'm definitely a pioneer.
Right?
I'm definitely a pioneer. The thing about it is I still got my finger on the pulse of hip hop though. I'm still full-fledged. So like a lot of times, like when you talk about pioneers or people talk about legends or whatever they might call them, they might think like it's over. But for me, it's it's just starting, because I just love it too much, E. And then on top of that, like what I'm doing right now, if I felt like it was corny, or if I received too much feedback that said, yo, you need to hang it up or whatever, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm not gonna run away from my dream, but I'm also gonna be realistic. And so ever since I got back into it, full-fledged, it's been nothing but love. Like, so evidently I'm doing something right, right? So
Definitely.
having said that, like, I was bit by the bug early, bro. And so it was just whatever it had to be, with me taking a quick trip out to New Jersey to get the latest tapes, or calling my cousins to find out what's popping off, or, you know, we didn't have satellite radio back then, but we still had the mail system. So I had my cousin like record me tapes from like WDAS, Power 99, whatever I could get from up top, you know what I'm saying? From wherever I could get from New York. And then I would also take trips, like still come back out there, because my stepfather, how my whole New Jersey thing began is that my stepfather is from Burlington, New Jersey, Willingboro, New Jersey, Route 130, right outside of Philly, Cherry Hill, Camden, right over by that area, right? So my stepfather was here in Milwaukee, going to a school called the Milwaukee School of Engineering. He's an electrical engineer when he graduated, that's when we moved to New Jersey. When we moved to New Jersey, he got a job in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, at the General Electric, and he was a part of the crew that built the bathrooms on the first space shuttle. So that's I was around a brilliant, like my stepfather always been brilliant, but he always supported like my musical enthusiasm, whether it be getting me a drum set, or my friends could come over and we could play records all day, whatever we wanted to do. Like he and my mom were always enthusiastic about that side of me. So coming back to Milwaukee didn't stop nothing. Plus, I live. My neighborhood record store was only like 2-3 blocks away. A place called Audie's One Stop. And so, brother by the name of Larry K. Miles, he also had his thumb on the tune, on the pulse of everything that was coming out. Confunction, Ohio Players, Barcades. But then he will also get in the latest Treacherous 3, the latest Grandmaster Flash, whatever it was, the latest Steady B, whatever was coming out. He was making sure that it was in that store. And so I was a regular. So whatever was coming out, I would know beforehand. He'd be like, yo, next Tuesday, I'm gonna have that new Cutmaster DC. I'm like, oh, word? Yeah, I gotta have that. Let me get that. Yeah, so that's how it was. So I was blessed.
That's okay. So before we continue though, let me ask you this. Growing up as a kid, though, what were some of your favorite cartoons and TV shows?
My favorite cartoon was G-Force, Battle of the Planets.
Dude.
Speed Racer.
You know what? I'm gonna be totally honest with you. When I was thinking of asking you this question, I thought about myself, right? What was my favorite one? And I swear to you, first thing that came to mind was G-Force.
G-Force, Battle of the Planets.
That to me, I mean, I had others, but that was the first one that came to my mind when I was like, let me ask him this question. Yeah. It was G-Force.
G-Force, and then a lot of the, even though them cartoons was racist as hell, like the Disney cartoons and like, but the Bugs Bunny.
Well, we didn't know any better, man.
We didn't know no better, but they was racist as hell. But like for instance, like the one where Bugs ran up on the ex-con Baby Finster, and he thought Baby Finster was a little, baby, right? But Baby Finster, when he looked through the peephole of the bathroom, Baby Finster was shaving and had tats and was diesel. You know what I mean? And then he'd cut out the light. He'll be like, click, and he'll cut out the light. Baby Finster have a big ass butcher knife about to stab you, or you have a big ass cannon. It's like those are my joints. Like and then Space Ghost, stuff like that. Like those are my joints. You know what I'm saying? Justice League, stuff like that. I would get up Saturday morning just like you and catch all of that. And then, but then what's wild though too is coming home every day from school in New Jersey on, I think I want to say Channel 29 out of Philly. It would be they would have that Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. I was addicted to that too. That's what I love. That's what I came up on.
Right. So I want to ask you that for a particular reason, but before we get into why, so when did you figure out that being an MC was something that you wanted to do, like, not just as a hobby?
When I heard Melly Mel say, when I heard Kool Moe Dee say, innovator, fast rhyme inventor, perpetrators, know you all went to my party, take notes, and then you tallied your votes and voted me as the best because the rhymes that I wrote, like that was a thesis in 1981. So I was bitten. I was like, this dude, now that people know you, now it's time to show you why we are still #1. I'm like, I was like, Melly, like Kool Moe Dee had my mind because he was
and his style too. He had,
he was crazy with the pen. He was stupid with the pen in 81. Stupid with the pen. Before Go See the Doctor and all of that. Before How You Like Me. I'm talking about 3 days, Turn It Up and all of that. Crazy. Between him and then the Crash Crew. Crash Crew was my joint. Like I used to break my tape and fix it. Because I had
you try to put the masking tape on it and
easy. I fixed the same tape probably about 7-8 times, man, because I love crack. Then I finally figured out just get a double cassette player and record it to the next tape. You always have another copy. But that didn't happen until a little later. But yeah,
I was gonna say I didn't know to do that either at first, man.
Right.
It would take, oh my God.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was just saying, like the genius of Kool Moe Dee's lyrics, the party rocking of Spoonie G, like the laid back of Spoonie G, sequence, stuff like that. It was like I want a part of this, but I hadn't developed my own identity yet. It wasn't until like I want to say like 86 when I heard South Bronx, and when I heard South Bronx, and then I heard a dude talking about check out my melody, and he was writing college thesis. He was writing college thesis in 86, like he was writing dissertations. The Overlord Rakim, he was writing dissertations in 86. Once I heard that, I was like, yeah, I got to do this. I need, because I'm naturally an orator.
Mm-hmm.
I like words. I love English. I love learning new things. I always had my eye on politics and sports. So it's like, it's synonymous with being an MC, especially if your antennas are always up like mine's were. So it just came natural to me.
Got you, man. Yeah. So one of the reasons why I asked you as far as the cartoons and everything like that is because of a lot of the music that I've heard from you. There's comedy, there's humor, and just like you said, though, you went to the politics and all of that. So you have like a total package when it comes to your music, right? You entertain, educate, but you also have the humor part of it. So I get that vibe, you know what I mean? That obviously knowing from, like you said, the 70s, you're like a 70s baby. So I knew right away what you kind of came up on, the type of TV shows, cartoons, commercials, what was around, right at that time.
Yeah.
Is what kind of shapes and molds a lot of us from that era.
Exactly.
But one thing I love about your music, for example, I'm a big KRS-One fan when it comes to the music, right? One of the things I loved about him was that when you grab, like, especially like from Criminal Minded and like his first few albums, when you would go from one track to another, it would sound totally different. He would have one style on the first one, the second one, you go from like a Criminal Minded to Poetry, right? Totally different. And then you had Breath Control, something totally different, 9mm. So and that's one thing that I enjoy a lot from artists, from MCs, right? Like Slick Rick, I would put in that category. I like to hear the versatility. I like to hear that they switch up the style, switch up the flows, play around with the melodies or whatever. And I like that in you. I find that that's what you do, in my opinion. And
that's the whole goal, E.
But you've mastered it, because there's some that do it and they try, they experiment, but it's like you don't feel like it doesn't feel like it's really them. If you kind of get what I'm saying, it just feels like they're playing around and trying different things. It comes natural to you. You know what I mean? Like help me out, because I can't remember one of your songs. It's the one you do in the beatbox. In the video, you had like the different squares.
My main concern is my check. My main concern is my check. Fuck accolades and respect. Yeah.
I'm like, you're all over the place with it, but it makes sense. It makes total sense. I love it. So I just wanted to, commend you on that.
I appreciate you. I don't want to be monotonous, E. Like, what's the, like, I might as well quit. I study Rhapsody. I study Kendrick. I still study what Cass did in 83. I still study when the Jizza gave us Liquid Swords. I study all of that. Like, I'm a child of all of that. Like, I'm a disciple of all those people. I'm definitely a disciple of KRS-One. That's my favorite MC live. Like, next to him and Kane, I've never seen nobody tear a stage down like that. Like
you saw the verses?
Come on, man. I'm probably on my fourth time watching it.
Yeah.
So
What's your opinion on that?
I mean, it's beautiful for the culture. It's great for the culture. And I caught myself because I wanted to claim a winner or whatever. But I'm just like, just the mere fact that these brothers is together and there's no beef and there's everybody is civilized and you're doing it at the Barclays Center. And that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it was
said it, and I'm still number one. Hip hop isn't even 20 years old. 50 years down the line, you can start this. He talking about now. Hip hop is 48 years old.
That's amazing.
Right? So it's like and then to have done a show with KRS like early on when I started hitting the stage, and to have just done a show with Kane like 5 weeks ago, it's mind blowing to me. And then to have Kane on the new Arrested Development album with one of my very good brothers, Speech, Arrested Development, and to be on the album, I'm on that album with him. Wow. I'm on the album with Speech, Arrested Development, Big Daddy Kane, Masta Ace. It's a bunch of people on this album that's coming out that Arrested Development is. So all that to say this, things are coming full circle. I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
I like that, man. I like it.
Yeah, I'm so blessed, man. I couldn't have it. I wouldn't have it no other way, man. I'm in a great place right now.
Hold on. Don't go too far with it. So, because I want to put into perspective, right, the where you are now, the space you're in now.
Absolutely.
I mentioned before that you started off with a group out in Milwaukee, right?
Right.
You guys, how was that? Talk a little bit about that. How was it? How was the experience? How long did that last for?
It lasted, Kali tribe, first of all, Kali in Swahili means fierce. And so my brother Speech, who went on to found Arrested Development, he's from Milwaukee. He's not from Atlanta. He's from Milwaukee. So we went to college together, but we knew each other prior to college. Like in our high school days, we were friends. And so his name is Todd. People call him Speech. Speech started a collective called the Fresh Walking Family that consisted of like 5 or 6 groups. One of those groups was Def Kali. They weren't Kali tribe yet.
Okay.
So Def Kali at that time consisted of my man Jojo Horn, who we called the Mic Snatcher, and King Kumanzi, who went on to become the regional spokesman for the Zulu Nation and toured the world with Zulu Nation. So they initially had the group, but I want to say around 1989, 1990, I'm also a producer. So I was a disciple of Hitman Howie T and a disciple of Paul C and Mantronic and Set G at that time. Like I was studying those dudes. Okay. And so like going back to the hood thing, although I wasn't full-fledged gangbanging, I had got into hustling. And so one of the on the positive side of hustling, I had the money as a 19-year-old man to go and buy a SB 1200 at 19. And you know how that was like the creme de la creme of drum machines at the time. It still is, you know what I'm saying? But so I went and bought an SB 1200 because I wanted to be the next Set G. I wanted to be the next 45 King. Like I deify those guys and I deify them to this day. You know what I'm saying? So I went and bought that machine, but I was also starting college. And I was in a crossroads of academia and the streets, you know what I'm saying? Trying to have one foot here, one foot there. Thankfully, I'm still here to talk about it, like I said. But what happened was I went to a school called the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And so the brother that I talked about, King Kumanzi, Manzi was also a student at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Def Kali is a Swahili word, and his father is Kumanzi is part Russian and part Kenyan. So his father gave them the name Kali. We changed it from Def Kali to Kali Tribe. So once we met up in the UWM Union, walking, just passing through, and we ended up having a conversation about hip hop. He was talking Lakim Shabazz. I was talking Chill Rob G. He was talking DJ Quick. I was talking Mixmaster Spade, Toddy T. Like we cross-referenced so many different forms of hip hop, and we realized that we was kindred spirits. So they asked me, like he and the other members at the group at this time, a brother by the name of Orlando Bellamy, God bless his soul, he's no longer here with us. but he had become the DJ of the group. So they asked me to come aboard. And so me being an only child, I was always looking for brothers. You know, I never had no brothers and sisters. So I was like, here, this is collective and everybody's dope. Like JoJo was a dope ass MC. Mozzie was crazy MC. And Lando was like on some DJ Premier shit back then, like,
okay.
like going crazy.
Right.
So I brought my 25 cents to the 75 cents and we made a whole $1. So it was like, I had the drum machine. There's like, damn, we've been borrowing time on this other guy's machine and you got the machine. And I'm like, you know, we got a practice space. And from there, we just started tearing down shows. We ended up meeting a brother by the name of Def Jeff, who's from Harlem, but made his bones in LA on Delicious Vinyl around people like Young MC and Tone Loc and the Brand New Heavies. And
Def Jeff.
Yeah, that's the homie right there, man. That's a beautiful dude right there. So Jeff was here in Milwaukee doing a show with the Brand New Heavies, and we ended up opening that show, and we tore that shit down. Nice. And so the show was like in a basement bar, and upstairs from that basement, we had our practice space. So after the show, we rolled up Philly Titans with Jeff, got him and got nice, and went upstairs and freestyled and kicked it, and we formed a bond. And Jeff was like, shit, bring y'all out to LA, man. Y'all need to come out to LA. Brought us out to LA. We performed at the Jamaica House. We performed at the LA Coliseum for like 25,000 people, which is like a quarter of the actual how many people can actually get into the Coliseum. But we performed like around Christmas time for like 25,000 people. And then after that, Jeff hooked us up with a young lady by the name of Larice Bell. And Larice was a videographer at the time. And she shot our one and only video that we ever did together called Getting Bigger. And Getting Bigger ended up in full rotation on Rap City with Madeline Wood and nice. Kiss of the Distant with Madeline Wood and all of them. So wow, we was on our way. But like a lot of groups, egos come into play. I'm a strong-willed person. I'm always gonna stand up for myself. Nobody's here to speak for themselves, so I'm not gonna throw nobody under the bus. But let's just say, you know, instead of being that you're dealing with young men, instead of thinking before we act, some members acted before they thought. And it's kind of like, once you cross a certain bridge with Mac, you cross that bridge, man. And it's like, I can forgive you, but I'll never forget type thing. Right. Yeah, so it was time for me to make a long story short, it was time for me to move on. But we stuck together like 4 years, toured out many shows. I'm still cool with JoJo. I'm still cool with Kamazi. Orlando was a very good friend of mine before he passed away untimely. So yeah, we have a good legacy here in Milwaukee. I wish it would have gone further, but due to the fact, like I said, of youthful exuberance and the lack of communications, things happen. And so it was time for me to move on.
Gotcha. So now after you move on from that, how long does it take for you to kind of continue as a solo artist? I'm
right on it. Like at the time, I'm in my Pete Rock stage. I'm in my Extra P stage. So I'm rhyming and I'm producing. Okay. So brother by the name of Steve Strickland, that the world might know as one-third of the group EMC with Masta Ace and Wordsworth. Okay. So at that time, I became a member of a crew called Top Floor, and Strick was a standout MC. I was a standout MC and producer. And so I produced a demo for Strickland that ended up getting him on Tommy Boy Black when they had Royce the 5'9", and they had done the soundtrack for the Black Mass, for the Jet Li movie Black Mass back in the day. So I produced the demo that got him connected and got him through that door. You know what I'm saying? So that I was full-fledged going hard as a producer and an MC. And unfortunately, I was still in the streets though, E. And I ended up having to pay a debt to society. And when I did that, things like, you know, I was on hiatus for a little while because I had to go do what I had to go do, whatnot. But nonetheless, like my love for hip hop, it never subsided. Like in fact, it became more infectious. It became more of something that I had to have. When I was away from it, when I was in them state greens and I had to beat on the table to my hand, this part of my hand would get green from beating on them tables with the pen and whatnot. When I came home, I said, I'm not done. I still got the bug. I'm still bit. So when I came home, I got back on it again.
So I saw somewhere that you said what you do today can affect your career 15, 20 years down the line, right? Um, does that statement that you made, does that come from the experience that you're just explaining now?
Yeah, but you know what, E? Based on what was going on in Milwaukee at the time, I was sitting at the studio waiting on one of the best MCs to ever come out of Milwaukee, a brother by the name of T.A. Wiz, Todd Whitaker. I was sitting in the studio waiting for him to come to the studio, and somebody murdered him and his father. So all that to say this, the trials and tribulations that I went through, Department of Corrections, things like that, it probably saved my life, bro. Because it's not like I was no wild gunslinger, but I like hustle. I like to hustle. I like money. And a lot of cats get jealous when you eating. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that somebody told me that stuck with me my whole life is they told me is that you don't belong in this game because you got a heart. And in order to be in that game, you got to be heartless, bro. You got to be willing to do anything at any time. And I wasn't like that. I'm not going to even sit here in front of nobody, in front of the world, anybody that may see this, and not going to even stick my chest out and be like, nah, I don't want to hurt nobody. I never was like, I came from a home of love. I came from a home with my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, while he was still alive. They all gave me love. They taught me morals and ethics. They didn't teach me to go steal from nobody. They didn't teach me to go rob nobody. They definitely didn't teach me to go murk nobody over no cracks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They didn't do that. So I always had a heart. I always had a soul. So yeah, but nonetheless, like you said, like ultimately you whatever you do in the day will be seen whatever you do in the dark will be seen in the light. And you're not gonna really get away with anything. So you might as well, like, if you in that game, then you gotta be prepared for the worst, because it's likely gonna come unless you very, very, very lucky.
Right.
And not too many are very, very, very lucky. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely. What you do 15 years ago can make or break you to what's going on right now. But you got to persevere too.
Of course. So you had like a point in time, a break in between from what you were doing until when you sort of came back full-fledged once again, which is up to where you are now, right?
Absolutely.
How long has it been since you kind of got back into it?
Well, I came home for my last little demonstration. I came home in like 2010. And from like 2010 to like 2015, I was content to just watch and listen. But then things started to be so redundant. Things started to be so monotonous. I would turn on the radio and like 16 records out of 20 records would sound the same. Same cadence, same subject matter, same snare. Everything was the same.
Same thing.
So I was just like, I can either criticize these people and be later, because by then I got my grades. So I could either criticize these people and be labeled as a hater, the old head hater.
Old head.
Yeah, the old head hater. I could be that dude, or I could stick my toe in the water and see if I still got it. So I decided the latter. I decided to pick up the mic and buy my MPC Renaissance and buy my Mac and get my VSTs and learn how to work Logic and get my good microphone and connect with like minds and give it another shot and see how it went. And it's been one of the best decisions that I ever made, because it number one, it makes me happy. Number two, people appreciate the work. Number three, we have a renaissance now. We got these verses. We got overseas where you can go and do your shows. Masta Ace and people like that are indicative of what a golden era artist can still do. Ace been kicking, like my brother Strickman touring with Ace for over 20 plus years, right? So that right there told me that I made the right decision. And just being able to cross-reference and meet brothers like yourself, man, like kindred spirits, brothers that really appreciate the culture, that really, brothers and sisters, I should say, that care about the culture and want to continue furthering it. Because we got something special that took over the world, man, from Antarctica to Anaheim. Hip hop is everywhere, man. It's Eskimos everywhere. Eskimos in Antarctica right now listening to hip hop, bro.
No. Yeah, it's like I said, I still find it amazing, right? Because I was born in 73, right? So you figure by the time 83 comes around, I'm 10 years old, right? But absorbing, think about it. I was in the city, coming outside, it just, it was in the air. I mean, all you saw was graffiti all over the place, kids breaking on the corners. And it was around
He
that.
was at the Bronx.
Nah, Manhattan. I
Oh,
was in
crazy.
Manhattan.
See?
I was in
Okay.
Manhattan. Yeah. So to remember a time when people were like, this isn't, it's noise, it's not gonna last. You see on the news, right? I don't know if you remember when they had like the CDs and they're crushing it with a like a bulldozer or whatever that was.
See Dolores Tucker. See Dolores Tucker and William and Drugs Are Bennett. All of them people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, to see where we are now, it's amazing. It's amazing. And it's still young though. Like it's still young.
I love it.
It's crazy. So
I love it.
So speaking about that, about where we are now with it, something that I like about what I've seen you do is promoting like the what is it, adult contemporary hip hop.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, and also how do you feel with where we are right now with the music of hip hop, the need and the necessity to have different like subgenres, right, for hip hop. I mean, right, which is what I'm assuming the whole adult contemporary hip hop falls in, right? It's a certain category for a certain.
They got punk rock, they got grunge rock,
Right.
They got heavy metal,
Exactly.
They got easy listening rock.
Right. So
we
you feel that for hip hop to continue evolving, it's best that it has these different subgenres, right?
You got to be able to go find what you want. It's somebody out there that may not want to hear It's somebody out there that want to hear bars. It's somebody out there that want to have. You got Dumile right behind you. It's somebody out there that want to hear Dumile. You know what I mean? Talk about rap snitches and is over. You know what I mean? Over some crazy obscure Weather Report sample or Giorgio Moroder sample. It's people that want to hear the trap rap, that want to hear about what it's like in the trap. It's people that want to hear the gangster rap. It's people that want to hear Dale and them with the high roll, with that style of rap, like that style of hip hop. So it's important to be able to have different genres so that we don't all get basically put into the same pot, because it's not all the same. It comes from the same vein, from 1520 Sedgwick in August 11th, 1973. It comes from the same vein, but ultimately all those expressions are different. And in order to be able to find exactly what you want, it's good to be able to break it down, man. Horror rap, you might want to hear some Grave Diggers, some Brother Lynch Hung, you know what I mean? Whatever you want to hear. You might want to hear some the style that Twister founded, that speed not monster sound, that Tech 9 sound. It's all different types of sounds. It's all different types of genres. So I just came up, I said adult contemporary hip hop, because I rhyme for the parents of the kids that want to be trappers. Hung out with my man named Dan, he wanted to be dapper. The fame from the game is what we are really usually after. When I lead a game, my name gonna hang from the rafters. I rhyme for the people that go to work 9 to 5 or go to work 10 to 6 and come home and the kids did their homework. Or when the kids get in the car, when they take the kids to school in the morning, the kids is playing Lil Yachty or this dude. and he like, yo, let me put you on to Rakim. You never heard Rakim? Oh, you never heard 3 Times Dope? Let me put you on to some MC Light. So I'm representing those people. Me and you, E, like I'm keeping that alive. We got to keep that alive. Because just because Kenny G came out, Miles didn't stop being popular. Miles became even more important. But you got different forms of jazz. You got fusion. You got straightforward, progressive. You got all different kinds of whatever music I might name. You got all different kinds. So hip hop shouldn't be any different, in my opinion.
I agree. No, I totally agree with that. And I like the fact that having those categories like that, you might be able to eliminate this whole which I don't know why we do this in hip hop, this whole thing about like you should stop rhyming after a certain age, or like it's not cool to rhyme at. I never understood that. And I think having these categories kind of might help with that though, because I mean, not for nothing. I know even like when we were younger, right? You kind of did hear all the time that hip hop was like a young, right? You know, a young movement. So I kind of understand when they say that, but if you still got it, you know, this isn't like basketball or boxing where at a certain point you just, you know, you don't have the ability anymore, which might be associated with your age. As long as you can speak and words can come out of your mouth, if you're dope, you
I
shouldn't
just did
stop.
that show with Kane. I just did that show with Kane. Kane should definitely not quit.
No, not at all.
KRS should definitely not quit.
And how old is
Q
now? Like 60?
Ludacris should definitely not quit.
Not at all.
Light should definitely, Latifah should definitely not. If, as long as you feel like you got it, and as long as it's still burning in your spirit, Mick Jagger ain't stopped. Mick Jagger in his 70s.
And nobody says anything about that.
And nobody gonna say nothing. They're gonna, as soon as the Rolling Stones say we're coming for a concert in your city, that shit sells out in 10 minutes.
Sold out.
The phone break. The phone lines break.
Mm-hmm.
The internet goes down because that many people want to see. So that's what I'm saying. So why should hip hop be any different? It shouldn't. And it's up to us. It's up to us.
Now, who do you think that the major record labels have something to do with pushing that narrative of it's a young man's sport?
I know they do.
You know they do.
I know they do because I just take, for instance, the album that my brother Speech just released last year. Don't Fight Your Demons. Don't Fight Your Demons is a dope ass album. The last Masta Ace album is a dope ass album. Skyzoo's albums, dope as shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I could go on and on and on. The latest Hyro project. I could go fucking Planet Asia, Rock Marciano. I could go on and on. Rhapsody, crazy. Moo Fresh, crazy.
Moo Fresh.
Why they not getting pushed? Like the little this and the young that. Because in a jaded kind of way, I understand it. Because they want youthful artists to appeal to the youth. I don't have a problem with that. But don't phase out the truly quality artists, the true veterans in this game. Don't phase them out, which is why the beauty of merchandising, the beauty of having your passport and being able to go overseas and rock shows, all of that is so important, man. So that you don't forget who Rakim is. You don't forget who Chuck D is. I spent time with Chuck D, man. Chuck still got it, man. Chuck still go hard on stage, bro. Go crazy hard. My big brother Chuck, chill out. Chuck still do a 3-hour set like nothing. Don't smoke or drink. And tearing the spot down like it's 87. So it's like it's up to Uncle E. It's up to Get Yours. It's up to Twan Mack. It's up to people like us to preserve it and keep on forwarding it and not run in place with it. I don't believe in the word of maintaining, because the word maintain means you running in place. We got to forward this thing because we got control of the world, man. There's kids over in Hamburg, Germany that love hip hop, man. Brisbane, Australia, all over the world. They love this, man. So it's like, I'm not giving up. You're not giving up. I'm not quitting.
No,
You're not
quitting.
All. We going forward with this, man, till we ain't here no more.
So I'm assuming by what we just said as far as independent and major, that you've been independent, right? How has that gone for you? You know, is it just you by yourself? Do you have a team? How's that process for you?
I have a few people that help me out from time to time, but the vast majority of it is me, which is why, like, the last 6 months I've taken a hiatus. Like, I haven't made any music. I've just stepped back and put my eyes on the game and watched everything and try to learn as much as I can possibly learn. And it's important to have good people around me. I do got some good people around me. Like the Kane show, I didn't curate that. My boy plugged me with that show. Okay. Like, I just did like a Wisconsin Music Awards the other night. I didn't set that up. My homeboy put my name in the hat and told them about me and make sure that they knew who I was. So all that to say this, stressing the importance of having good people around you. You can't ever downplay that. You can't do everything on your own. But But unless somebody came with like a humongous bag and it was just like they were gonna give me creative control and gonna let me do what I want to do. This is my dream. This is what I love to do. So I never want to put myself in a position where somebody is leading me by the hand, or somebody's got me in a dark room looking for a light switch and I can't find it, or somebody is half-assing me. And no, it hasn't been as lucrative as it could be. But see, I didn't get back into this for to make a boatload of money. It would be nice when shows open back up overseas, I'll be able to get over there with Arrested Development and do my thing, and I'll get what I have coming to me. But nonetheless, through everything that I'm doing, it's all very worth it because of people like you, bro. And I mean this, like, not because we on this, like when people like you or Ralph McDaniels acknowledge me, or Nikki D, Daddy's little girl. When Nikki acknowledged me, when Sean P's wife Bernadette told me that shit is dope, I like that shit, bro. That'd be like payment to me. Don't get me wrong. Now I'm about my money. Like I told you, I was a hustler.
Of course.
I'm about my bread. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the total. That's not the totality of my love for this, for what I do. It's really more so about people caring and people wanting to preserve and forward the culture. So it's been well worth it as an independent artist. You know, it's been well worth it. And once like a lot of these constraints lift with this pandemic and I'm able to get on the stage, 3-4 times in a week for like 3-4 months, then, you know, we'll see. We'll everything will work itself out. I'm working out my new merchandising and all that kind of stuff, my new website. I'm getting all the intricacies of that worked out because I want everything. If you looked at my videos, I like my stuff to look good. I don't like to just throw anything out there. My latest video, The Grave Digger, I want it to be art, man. I don't want you to say, Twan, you could have did this. Even if you say you could have did this, I don't want nobody to say it too many times. I want them to be like, that was dope. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm real finicky. I'm real fickle about what I put out and what represents me. Because ultimately, once you put it out there, you can't bring it back.
That's it. Yeah.
You can't unring a bell. You can't unring a bell.
No. I listen, like I said before, and I love the work you've done up until now. I love the videos. I like the creativity. You could tell you put a lot into it. Just keep going, man. Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't get discouraged or anything like that, you know?
Nah, it's funny. I took the 6 months off. Actually, a hard drive died and I couldn't get stuff back off of it. And so that kind of sent me into a little bit of a depression. It sent me into a little bit of a valley. But then I realized the positive part about it is that those were things that I was working on, and I already had rough drafts of them in my phone and here and there. So if I want to go back and recreate those, I can. But I already had like 40, 50 mastered records. I already got like 7-8 videos that the world hasn't seen, stuff like that. So I got a vault, like, even though I lost it, but it did send me into a little bit of a depression. And so I took the depression and the pitfall, and I turned it into a positive, and I turned it into a period of getting reacquainted with myself and realizing where I want to go with this. Like, instead of always running and trying to do this, I took time out to just get in my b-boy stance and be like,
and reevaluate.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Before we continue, I want to throw a couple of names at you and just tell me what comes to mind when you first hear the name. Fife from A Tribe Called Quest.
The 5-footer, ill cat, super ill, on the mic, going too soon. Wish I would have had the opportunity to meet him.
Sean Price.
Brolic Decepticon microphone murderer. Killer on the microphone.
Hell yeah. Guru.
Gifted Unlimited Rhymes Universal. I burnt a Philly Titan with him here in Milwaukee when he was here promoting the Daily Operation album. One of the greatest, one of the smoothest cats. Ballhead Slick, the God.
Yeah, he was always cool, man. Very humble too.
God.
Very humble. MF Doom.
Come on, man. Dumoulin, man. I still find the intricacies. I listen to Dumoulin, and I cried when Dumoulin left the earth. It really hit me hard. Yo, Ecstasy, Houdini, my man. You always been the God. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dumile was a god to me, man. I love Dumile, man.
I want to say I appreciate. I saw one of your videos, your songs, where you mentioned MF Doom in there, and you know that for us, his home team, you know, that's our brother.
MF Doom and Steady B, both of them is dope MCs. Rakim is the GOAT to me. Trappers keep your lawyer fees.
Yes. So, you know, whenever we see anybody, man, that pays, you know, respect or shout out or whatever, man.
The God, man.
Much appreciated. So if you have a bucket list, I don't know if you have one or if you're going to make one or whatever, who is an MC, male or female, that you haven't worked with that would be on the top of that list?
I would love to do a record with a 1991 Latifah, okay. The Wrath of My Madness Latifah.
Okay.
I would love to do a record. I would love to do a record with Knowledge Reigns Supreme.
That would be.
I would love to do. My man Ras Kass did one with Bardem, the Bardem record with KRS and Raz. Raz is my people, and I was just like, ooh, and they murdered it. So, Chris, man, and damn, you put me on the spot with that one. Damn, I gotta think. My Midwest brother. I would love to do a record with Ye, man. Ye is insane. Ye is a scientist, man. Like, you people can say whatever they want to say about him, but I was listening to Late Registration the other day. I'm like, oh snap.
Nah, yeah,
like,
he
people
definitely
like that, man. People like that. He's a scientist.
And what about on the
Cool Keith?
Cool Keith. Oh yeah.
What
about on the production side? If you had that one, you know, one or two artists that you haven't produced for that you would love to make, you know, whether it's one track, an album, you know, whatever it is.
Man, who would I go get, man? Damn. I love a lot of Rakim. If I could ever make something, get Rakim. If I could get Rakim and Kane to do a record.
Do you have any tracks, any beats that you've done that you like, damn, this person would sound dope on it, and you just kind of have it stashed?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I got into taking the acapellas of my favorite MCs and putting them over and lining them up with the BPM of a track. And I can't forget about the cool genius of rap, the Corona King from Queens. If I could get him to redo, I used to stand on the block selling cooked up rock. God, the Corona King from Queens.
Oh man,
cool genius of rap.
Yeah, man. I was hoping he came out on the verses, but
I figured that he said he didn't want to be second. G-Rap is a god, so he probably was like, he didn't want to be second fiddle. He probably didn't want to be like, you know what I mean? I deserve my own verses type thing.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed so far, though. E, to even have records with like people like Skyzoo. Got a record with Tragedy Gaddafi. Got a record with Ras Kass. I didn't even drop none of them joints yet. I still got them in the vault and videos.
What are you waiting for?
I did drop the video with Tragedy, but those I deified. Like, Tragedy has been one of the illest cats forever to me, man. Raz has always been ill. Sky came out of nowhere. Sky fell out of the sky on me. I didn't know Sky was crazy dope like that. Sky is insane.
Yeah, he's I don't even think he gets the recognition he should.
His pen game is sick.
It is. It's like what you said before. Like, why are these people not really? I mean, again, if you know about it, you know where to find them and where to find music and all of that. And
yeah,
but they should be out there. They should be top notch. You know what I mean?
It goes back to what the labels are doing. The labels suppress a lot of that stuff, and they want to throw you the kid with 1,000 colors in his hair and tats under his eyes, and he ain't killed nobody, but he rapping about something. It's like they force that agenda on the baby. So that's the reason why it's important for us to continue doing what we do, so that we give a balance. Because that's one thing about it. Even in what they call the golden era, even when Kane them was doing their thing and KRS was on, we still had the Ghetto Boys, we still had DJ Quick, we still had NWA, we still had HWA, what they call themselves, hoes with attitudes or whatever they call it. You're right. We still had JJ Fad. We still had we had Luke with the booty shaking music. We had everything. Atlanta didn't even have a sound yet, right? So we had balance. It wasn't one-sided. And so that's that's part of my purpose, to provide balance out here in the landscape and make sure that we don't forget that there's still cats out here that don't rap over their vocals when they get on stage. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Now that has to. Where does that come from, man? There has to be
laziness.
You can't. But you can't tell me that there's still like there's nobody around that can talk to these artists and explain to them what it is to put on a show, a quality show. I mean, you're trying to tell me that like there's nobody around the camp, there's nobody in these labels. You know, everybody is that young now that they don't like. I don't understand. Where does that come from?
And I love to make a record with Black Thought. And to answer your question, the labels don't care. They're making so much money hand over fingers off of these kids. And the kids, now, think about me and you at 15, 16, E. We knew everything, didn't we? I knew everything at 16. I thought I did, right?
We thought we did, yeah.
Right, so now think about it with ratcheted up with social media, with Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all of this stuff, and the peer pressure and the guns and the drugs and the girls and how fast life is going right now. Like the kids of today, I won't say all of them, but the vast majority of them, they figure like they got it figured out, and they're not willing to listen to a lot of old heads. They're not really willing to listen a lot of times.
Do you think it also has something to do with the consumers? Meaning, for example, when we were, like you just said, when we were 15, 16 or whatever, if we went to a show or a concert and the artist is on stage performing their vocals themselves, I mean, we didn't know any better, right? To us, that's how it was supposed to be. It's not like we knew that they're not, they're supposed to or not supposed to do a certain thing. It's just what everybody did, and that's what we knew. So like if you have these young cats coming out now, rhyming over their record, sometimes they're not even saying their verses, you can hear it, and they say a word here and there. And these kids that are 15, 16, 17 don't know any better. They don't know. To them, they think that that's what it's supposed to be. So they
don't know.
So at the end of the day, they're enjoying the artists that they like. They don't have a clue that it's not, we see it that way because we come from that and understand what it is to give a quality show and to sound right. And you're paying your money because you want to hear the artist perform it, not listen to the record, which you could do at home.
You catch a bottle in 87, you get a bottle thrown at you if you was on the stage in front of 5,000 people rapping over your lyrics, man.
Right.
You catch a beat down if you bit anybody's style back then. They come see you. I think it's a whole different ball game right now.
So it's just a change of the time then.
It's the change. It's not, and a lot of times it's not their fault either.
Right.
It's just like a lot of the kids, they feel bitter towards us because they say, well, when we needed y'all, when I was coming up, none of y'all was around.
Nobody was
y'all
around.
Was locked up, y'all was selling drugs, and they be having valid points, which is why, like I said, why Twan Mack came back into the game the way he came back into the game. I didn't come back into the game to be trying to chastise no young people, man, because I was young once upon a time myself, and I know how it feels to have somebody that's not in the trenches with you to try to tell you how to run your shit. So I approached it from a different angle. I'd rather just give them something to look at, something to listen to. Hopefully at some point it'll resonate. But if it doesn't, that's fine too. But what they will never say is, oh, Twan is an old ass hater. Nah, I'm not gonna even give you that opportunity. Man, do you.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel. If you feel like putting 100 tats on your face, and if you feel like talking about 100 guns is your thing, then hopefully one day you realize that, just like we talk about the 15 years affecting your life 15 years later, right? Mm-hmm. Hopefully it don't cost you 40 years in the feds, and hopefully it don't cost you a pine box. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it don't cost you that too soon. Hopefully you get the light bulb goes on at some point, you're able to figure it out.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I appreciate what you do and others like yourself. I think it's very needed to preserve the culture of hip hop so that it doesn't fade out, right? It doesn't, well, not fade out, but we don't lose the history. We don't lose what was, what it was all built on. Because I would hate for 20 years from now when somebody look back and all they can go far is like what was going on in in the year 2000. You know what I mean? Like they think that that's what hip hop. Man, we have
ain't
to
gonna
keep.
let them, E.
No, we got to keep. That's why I salute to the Universal Hip Hop Museum that's opening up, and all those brothers out there doing that work. And I know there's stuff in other. What was? I think there's one in
DC.
In DC, I saw they did some stuff out there.
My man Jaquan just inducted Pete Rock and a whole bunch of cats, man.
I saw that.
That's my
Pete
people
Rock was
right
there.
there.
I think
Jaquan.
Rakim was there.
Yeah. With Sincere, what you and Sincere are doing.
Right.
That's
right,
my
right.
man's. See what I'm saying? See how dope this music is? See how dope this culture is? I would have never knew Uncle E was popping off like that. I would have never knew Sin was y'all would have never knew me. This culture, man. It go full circle.
That's what brought me and Sincere together, man. Also because of the pandemic, right? When everything was kind of shut down and everybody was streaming and doing their stuff. That's how I came across Sincere. I love the way he does his interviews.
He's
man.
Sincere about this culture. That's what he's got that thing. He's sincere. He's passionate about it. He love this shit.
I love it.
We do.
I love it. So, we connected, man. We talked a little bit or whatever. I had him on this platform and man, we're so alike, right?
Yeah.
Mentally,
y'all kindred spirits. We all kindred spirits, bro.
So we started, he has his platform, I have this one, and then we came together and now we have Changing of the Hip Hop Gods.
I'm gonna be on that too. Be on that too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We just started that. If anybody listening, you can find that on YouTube as well, CHH Podcast, which stands for Changing of the Hip Hop Gods. And basically what that is, Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. We all know how they have in DC, right? Changing of the guards, protecting that one, right? That's where we kind of got the concept from. We just figured we're two cats from different sides of the world or whatever. Yeah. And we're just crossing paths, man, trying to protect.
Kindred spirits, man. Y'all cohesive. Y'all got a cohesive chemistry.
We're not saying we're the only gatekeepers or anything like that.
Nah, we're just part of the puzzle.
Two of the soldiers crossing back and forth, making sure that this culture of ours that we all love stays the way it's supposed to. Before we get up out of here though, Twan, Kareem City, your apparel, what's going on with that? Tell everybody about, where they can find it, where can they purchase?
Right now, they can hit me up directly on, like, I'm mainly, I'm on Facebook a little bit, but if you go to Twan Mack 24 on Instagram, you contact me directly, I'm gonna hit you back. I'm not gonna, unless you want some spam asking me if I want to pay for Spotify, or do I want to upgrade my Instagram account and get my blue check.
You need followers. You need some more followers.
As long as you're talking real, I'm definitely gonna respond to you. So right now, because the twanmack.com, I own the domain, I just haven't put the site up because I'm trying to like finish the all the particulars, all of the little nuances, so the site looks really professional and it serves all of my needs from a marketing standpoint. So I'm working that out. But in the meantime, Twan Mack 24 on Instagram, you'll hit my DM. I'm gonna answer you back no matter what. And Kareem City, in Arabic, the word Kareem means generous. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, before Giannis just got us our first title in 50 years, Kareem brought us our title. But more important than just his athletic prowess, he's always been a social political thinker. He's always spoken, and he comes from Manhattan. He comes from where you from.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So then once he left New York City, he went to John Wooden in UCLA, and then he came to Milwaukee for like 5-6 years, and he dropped a lot of jewels, and he continues to drop a lot of jewels. So I named my music company Kareem City Music. But then I also got the adult contemporary hip hop apparel. All that stuff's gonna be popping off. So really, just come check me on Instagram right now until I get the site up. The site up will be up pretty soon once I do all of the last little stages of it. And just don't hesitate to reach out. I'm on all the digital streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple, whatever you name it. Tidal. I'm everywhere. I'm even on Twitter. So whoever come rock with me, I'm gonna rock back, and I support you. I'm not just looking for people to support my music. If you dope and I rock with you, I'm gonna reciprocate. I'm not that type of dude.
Nah, and I can vouch for that because ever since I've met you, you've been straight up all the time, man. Anything I've asked, whether it was a drop or whatever, you didn't hesitate.
Family,
you know, so I appreciate you. Let me just real quick, as far as the apparel though, nostalgic visuals though, is that what this all falls under?
Nostalgic Visuals. That's
Okay.
Nostalgic Visuals is the LLC I started a few years back, to where the mantra is real swag never gets old. Uncle E will never play out. Uncle E was always gonna be fly. Twan Mack is always gonna be fly. You know what I'm saying? So that's the parent company for the apparel. And
Okay.
but what I'm doing right now, I had a nostalgicvisuals.com up and running, but I decided to take it down because I want everything up under twanmack.com. I want everything in one place where you pull up twanmack.com. You can go buy a CD that I put out in 2004, or you can buy a hoodie that I just put out last week, or you can find out where my next show is, or you can find out whatever information. I just dropped a new single, whatever it is, the streaming platforms. I'm gonna put everything up under one roof.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're gonna be looking out for that. Listen, everybody watching this, make sure you support Twan Mack. Make sure you support other artists that you like, because without our support, man, these guys can't continue to do what they do. And if we love it, why not support it so that we can keep getting it, right? We always complain when our favorite artists disappear, or, you know, they get fed up with the business and they stop making music. We want to complain like we want more, but then we don't
What's
go
such and
out.
such at? Why he ain't?
Yeah, but we don't go and buy the record when it comes out, or we don't support a show when they're coming out. So we can't, you know, we can't be that greedy. Go out and support. Look up Twan Mack on, like you said, Instagram, all the social platforms. Find his music, his videos, and let's support this brother. Twan, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. Let's do this again. We didn't even talk about your journalism. I know you've been doing some. I don't know if are you still doing the stuff with the weekly rap guys?
I am. We're about to pop back out. We just took a little hiatus just to recalibrate, but we're about to pop back out. Shouts out to Newbie the Ear Hustler. Shouts out to Frankie Salvation, the whole weekly rap guys family. We far from done. We recalibrating, and as they say in the wire, we retooling. We retooling up.
Gotcha.
We tooling
so
up.
Shout out to the weekly rap guys, man. They're very dope too. We'll be looking out for you on that as well. Man, and like I said, please continue. Much success to you. And we'll do this again very soon. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime you hit me, E, I'm gonna answer. And I know you would do the same for me.
Anytime.
Everybody out there, anything associated with Uncle E, I need y'all to support that. The man is thorough. I'm not saying this because that's my man's. I'm saying this because he truly loves the culture, and he's truly committed to the preservation and forwarding of the culture. And that's ultra important, especially right now where you have the powers that be, some of them trying to fight against true hip hop, trying to keep true hip hop from the ears and from the eyes of the people that really need to hear it at this time. So it's imperative that you support people like Uncle E in any platform that he's involved in, man. And E, thank you from the bottom of my heart, bro.
No, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.